Hello, my friends. Welcome to the metal shop. Today is beautiful. I guess it's still summer. Feels like fall. Say hello to the shop dog. Hello, George. He's gonna supervise me today. Anyway, today's project: new wheels and tires. So not quite as easy as it sounds. I gotta first get this thing up here, drive it on some boards, get it lifted in the air, all that. Then we'll mount the adapters, and finally the new wheels and tires. So I will take you along for the ride. So let's hopefully we're looking at the last time. We'll see the 17-inch torque thrusts with the fake knockoff center caps there, and we'll get our real pin drive knockoffs installed. I think it's gonna drastically improve the look of the car. And I'm really hoping I don't have any issues with these giant meats that we'll have to stuff in the rear there. They're supposed to fit 295s. That's the recommended size, and these are patterned off the original cars that had those giant Goodyear racing billboards that are roughly the same size, actually a little bit bigger than this. So they should fit. Fingers crossed. All right, let's get this going on. All right, so we got the car up in the air, which is not easy. And curiously, I noticed a, good, decent sized, small sized puddle of gasoline under it when I pulled it in. And I climbed underneath the car and I can't for the life of me figure out where it's coming from. Everything is dry. Fuel filter, all the lines, they're all dry. Now, when I was going to drive up on the blocks of wood, I was rocking it to actually drive up on it. And I wonder if I sloshed something out the vent or something. I did get a full tank the other day, so I hope that's it. So any ideas, I will welcome them. Anyway, so I'll have to put that off till another day. When I unboxed the adapters and the spinners, the whatever you want to call them, the knockoffs, they aren't labeled. So I had to figure out which were the passenger and which were the driver's side. And exactly the opposite, the right-hand thread, or clockwise, is for the driver's side, or the left-hand side of the car. Make sure to get that right. The right-hand thread, clockwise, goes on the left-hand or driver's side of the car. The left-hand thread, or counterclockwise, mounts to the right-hand side or passenger side of the car. So I marked them just with a Sharpie. I'll do something. Once the adapters are on, it really doesn't matter. You're not, in theory, going to take them off. But the spinners, I'm gonna do something with a Dremel, or I'm gonna engrave a little something on the back side, just with a D and a P or something. So I've checked over here. I've got the new pins, smooth-sided lugs, pretty nice. Came with this nice adapter, fits both 13, 16, and whatever the other size is to drive those on. So I'm going to put the adapter on. I am going to put a little dab of blue Loctite, which is recommended, on my studs, and I'm going to drive the adapter on. I was a little concerned. I was thinking, I may have to adjust the ride height here in the rear, but that's maxed out. I think what happened here is when this car was built, you're supposed to cut, I believe you cut like one coil off. That looks really short to me. I believe whoever this was cut off a couple of coils, and these springs are a little short. There's not really any room for adjustment. I could pick up Mustang springs and make height adjustments if I need to. I was hoping that I could just, because you've got this corkscrew kind of thing here where you just twist the spring and it raises and lowers your ride height. It's pretty ingenious. And I may have to flip that quad shock too, so that the small end is sticking out where the tire would interfere with it. These have already been kind of smushed, probably with a set of jaws there. So it's kind of flat anyway. So all right, wish me luck. All right, well, here we sit, brokenhearted. From from the Nothing is Easy files, I've got one of the studs on this hub assembly. Right there, if we can see it, is completely trashed. So, easy peasy, no problem. Pound out the stud, replace it, and we're good to go. Only, there's this, nice window here. Sorry about the glare. Nice window here in the dust shield where I could spin the rotor and pound out the stud, but I can't even see it from the back side. So, I tear the thing down, and I gotta rack my brains here to get back to my old, unsealed hub assembly that you gotta tear all apart. And thank goodness I have some Fox body experience and I remember how these things go together and come apart. But look, these came off a Lincoln, I believe, a Mark 7. I think that's a tone ring for ABS. And it blocks the studs. So, I sent this picture to a friend of mine, really skilled mechanic, and he's like, oh, just heat it up. And the thing popped right off without bending it all to crap. And because I assume that this is, it's going to affect the balance if you just take that off. I don't know. I don't have any heat here, no torches, no nothing. So I am at a complete standstill till I can swap the stud out on this. We did get the rear on. Looks pretty good. Now I put the jack stands under the axle, so that is ride height. That is how it's going to look, and we're not touching the kicker shock. We're not rubbing anywhere. We have a decent amount of room, and quite honestly, the old 275s here, they rubbed when on the driver's side only when you hit a big enough bump. And I've heard plenty of guys who talk about this. I mean, this is clearly, there's a little bit, there's some, room in here, but that's going to rub. That's going to rub when you hit, when you hit a good enough bump, that's going to get right up in there. So I guess we'll have to see. I wanted to show you at least one side with the new wheels on. I can still put the other side on, and I probably will, and that should go smoothly. I kind of, in the back of my mind, I knew about that stud. I knew one of them was all effed up, and of course you can't run a die around it. There's no room to run a die around a wheel stud like that, not and get any torque, unless you pound it out. And then why are we running a die around a wheel stud that can be had cheap enough? So yeah, we'll file this under the and that's what you want to do when you go to put your adapter on. You want to spin these on by hand just to ensure that they're going to go on and off properly. I mean, I could jam this thing on like the nut was, whatever the heck those things are called, and it's probably fine because it's the adapter and these would be on there forever. But God forbid you ever need to remove it for whatever, you take this off. This is now ruined. Find one of these, and it's just not the right way to do things. Not the way I like to do things. I want this to be able to come apart someday if I ever need to, and I want it to be right. So anyway, I guess we'll move on to the other side. All right. Good morning, my friends. It's another day here in the metal shop. One lazy black dog laying out in the sunshine. Oh, hello. And so 3 out of 4 wheels done. The fourth one here in the rear giving me some problems. I just couldn't, I'll show you after, I'll go around to the wheel. I just couldn't get it to seat. I couldn't get the wheel to seat over the pins, and I wanted to show you one thing that I did do that I noticed. So these pins, when you put them on, hold your adapter in place. Here, we can just put this on. There's 2 bolt patterns, of course. They give you a Chevy bolt pattern. Don't know why you would need that. Anyway, when these pins go on, there's the little nub here that's supposed to be, I don't know, almost like a speed loader, like a little, little section of no thread that's designed to make it easier to put your wheel on. But what it does is it means that this huge Allen wrench won't go in the pin very far. It's enough, but I can foresee, I can see the future. And you know, you go to change brakes, you go to do whatever, these things go on and off a couple times, and you're just biting the last, not even a third, maybe the last quarter. These are going to fail, and they're going to fail on, and they're smooth, and you're going to have a hell of a time getting them off. So what I did was I took a Dremel and I cut the little nubs off here. And sometimes you'll have to do that with studs that are too long. You know, you'll have to cut them and then run the threads back down them again. Anyway, I did that. I used the Dremel, and it was 3 blades to do all 5. Not exactly that, you know, super productive there. But, yeah, I didn't want to drag out the grinder and throw sparks. Gas tank is right there. So, anyway, yeah, let's walk over to the wheel. And so none of them went on particularly easy. The fronts were easier than the rear, but you've got to slide the wheel here over the pins, over these 5 pins. And yeah, see, this one's nice, and this one, for whatever reason, the tolerance isn't as what I would like it to be. For my opinion, this hole, perfect. This one's a little grabby. That one's okay. Okay. I guess they're all okay anyway. So I haven't been able to get this wheel seated. The other rear was exceedingly difficult. Fronts were a little easier. I'm looking for some tips and some tricks there on how to do this. I'm going to put this thing back together, and I'm going to give it hell. So let's see how we do. All right, so we're still a no-go with this last wheel, but I think I finally figured out what it is. I take the adapter off, and I was actually going to get some lugs and put the pins on and try and drop it in and see if, you know, if it fit properly, if that was the issue. And I found this. I don't want to put it all the way in because it gets stuck. But if you see, well, now it wants to drop right in. But it's hanging up. Yeah, see, now it's going to be stuck in there. Stand by while I pull this out. The problem I ran into is it's here. Well, not here. It's here, where it won't drop through. You know, you get it just right, and it will kind of sort of want to go through. Other ways, it's hanging up. See, now it's really good and hung up. I had a hard time. All the holes seem to line up pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the Dremel, a little sanding drum, and I'm just going to give that a little skosh around the inside there just to give it that tiny little bit of clearance, and hopefully, fingers crossed again, that will make all the difference. Yay. This is a lot to do on your, you know, $3,500 custom wheels. Nothing's easy. No success. This wheel is halfway on those pins. I cannot get it any further. I'm just at a loss here. So I switched wheels and tires. These BF Goodrich's are unidirectional. So I switched the other side, and the wheel and tire combination that was on this side to the other side went right on. Brought that other tire that had gone on the other side previously, no problem. Brought it over here, won't go on. Further than I ever got it, I used you know, some anti-seize, which you're supposed to do anyway, to kind of try to act as a lubricant. But you know, I still have another ½ inch or so, and I'm not, am I supposed to be pounding the tri-wing spinner there to pull it on, or I admit defeat for today only. I don't ever admit defeat. I'm going to call Bob Lacey tomorrow. I think there has to be something wrong with this particular adapter, because 2 different wheels won't go on this adapter. I double checked, all the pins are seated properly. There's no gap. None of the studs are bent, and it's on there now. They're all 5 are seated in the wheel just halfway. I just can't get it to go on any further. And I'm at a loss. I just don't know what it is. So for now, you know, we wait, I guess. Today's a Sunday. I'll speak to Bob tomorrow. I'd like, you know, I'll even pay for it. I'm gonna have him send me another hub assembly, maybe some other pins. I'll have some spares or whatever, and you know, we'll go from there. But this is just a no-go, and I'm wiped out. And of course, you know, we get a nice rebound heat wave today in the metal shop, which irritates the ever-living F out of me, that it's 80 degrees and humid here again today on September the 18th that it is. Sorry, I'm ranting because I'm so upset about this, but the heat and pouring sweat off my brow did not help to make this project go any better. So you can rejoin me when I have some news. Hopefully it's some good news and we get this thing figured out. God damn it. Nothing's easy. All right, so just a quick follow-up. I did get that rear wheel to seat, and honestly, it wasn't easy. It was like I used the spinner to basically to pull it on, which is, in my opinion, is not ideal. You know, so I would, you know, hit the spinner with the lead hammer, tighten it up, I loosen it up, you know, try and whack the tire so not leave the wheels, you know, pound it, donkey kick it, whatever, try and get it to move a millimeter, tighten up the spinner again, and eventually, you know, I had, you know, probably a quarter, you know, 3/8 of an inch that I just had to tighten the spinner down using the lead hammer, and you can see the result there, but, you know, it went on. I didn't want to gloss over this step. I did put anti-seize around the pins and some on the adapter there, and the most important part is to put anti-seize on the spinner, or, I mean, obviously you can put on either threads. It's gonna, doesn't matter which surface you put it on, it's gonna get on both. It's gonna get everywhere, you know, how anti-seize does. It's amazing to me how easy the fronts go on and off. I don't know what the difference is. The wheel lighter, you know, not as heavy as the rear. The rears are 10s. You know, I think these are 8s in width. I don't know how that could have anything to do with it. You know, maybe the adapter on the rotor, whatever, is just, I don't know. I cannot explain it. It's just a lot easier, but I didn't want to skip this step here. So we're going to just put this wheel back on, tighten it up. I've got all of them anti-seized. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to run the safety clips that we get from vintage wheels. I like those. They look good. I'm not going to do safety wire right now. I'm not planning on driving. You know, I'm going to take it for a test drive. You know, I'm going to tighten up retighten the spinners and see how we do. Not sure I'm going to end up running the safety wire, but for a little bit of anti-seize, which is dirt cheap, you know, I read online, Dennis Kirkham, you know, from Kirkham Motorsports, they manufacture Cobra replicas. It told a horror story of cutting the spinner off, cutting the adapter off, cutting the wheel off, because they didn't, you know, someone didn't use anti-seize, and that's not going to be me. This stuff is cheap insurance. We're going to put that on there. So join me. We'll put the safety clips and the center caps on, and we'll finish this out. All right, well, there you have it. Installation of real authentic Halibrand pin drive wheels on the Cobra. I apologize, in my mind this video seems to have come across a little bit disjointed, but honestly, this weekend I was running around kind of like a chicken with my head cut off for something that was seemingly a very easy project. You know, I had some struggles, I had some issues, you know, a gacked up wheel stud here. On the passenger side, I just couldn't get that wheel to seat, and it ended up, you know, just spiraled out of control. Honestly, if everything went perfectly, this changeover, you know, this swap would take you, you know, like an hour, for real. And experience will play in a factor in that as well. So you'll see we've got the center caps installed for kind of a nice finished look, and we've got the vintage wheel safety clips on there. Not exactly period correct, but honestly, without the center cap and with this little safety wheel, it looks very much like a like they did back in the day for racing. So if we take one thing away from this, it's anti-seize. Use your anti-seize. Oh, and just take your time. That really did factor in as well. I threaded on every single one of those pins all by hand to make sure that they would go on by hand and that none of the threads were gacked up. I tried like hell. I wanted to seat each wheel by hand, and I did 3 out of 4, 3.5 out of 4, got them to seat up, by hand, because you don't want, I'm trying to think ahead. I want these things to be easy to be taken off for service, like a traditional wheel, and they're not going to be. That much is apparent. You're gonna bang off the spinner, you're gonna tug and pull and shake and twist that wheel, and I've heard some horror stories about those pins kind of getting rounded out. So I'd imagine after some torque goes through them, some miles on the road, they're going to get, let's say, eased up a little bit. The hole is going to be, a little bit bored out. Hopefully you guys really like the look. It really looks good there in the rear. Nice and tucked in, very much like the factory. The suspension's hanging a little bit here in the front. Really need to set it on the ground, but I've just about had enough and I can't take any more. We're not going to go for a test drive today. It's overcast, kind of a rainy day today. I want to check for some stuff I got going underneath the car as well. But as always, my friends, I'd like to thank you for watching. I sincerely hope that you find this video useful and that you got some tips and tricks from me and from my problems that I had with this installation of the vintage wheel Halibrand pin drives. A lot of words there. Replicas. True knockoff, true pin drive wheels, which is really gonna make the look of your Cobra just so much the better. Please click subscribe, consider a subscription, give me that thumbs up, and please check out my other videos. All right, my friends, take care. Cobra.